They've turned into invisible elephants now. Let's drive around. Hello everybody. You're probably wondering what on earth is going on, but I do in fact know that I'm live and we're trying something a little bit different. This is now the pre-drive drive. We're going to do 5 minutes of absolute fun and you can see a little bit as to what goes on behind the scenes. So you probably will see me fixing my hair or VM wiping the lens. And of course, we will then get started in just a couple of minutes with the actual show. Now this is quite fun, I think. Now you can see what we get up to. We go out quite early in the afternoon and we start looking for things to show you. At the moment, there's lots of warthogs around. So that's going to be quite exciting for a little bit later. We're also going to be chatting to Windsor Oaks Elementary School at some point during the show. They're going to be joining us, which is a lovely group, and it's Mrs. Hubble's class. It's the same class from yesterday afternoon, so it's a group of 5-year-olds, which is quite exciting, I think. I'm looking forward to chatting with them again. Hopefully they've got lots of questions for us. But now it's time to just enjoy the peace and quiet and catch up on the nature that we missed from earlier today. Probably going to pass Byron at some part so we can all wave to him. Hopefully we'll have a few little tricks up our sleeve this afternoon in preparation for the drive. So Kirsty's, thank you Kirsty. I shall do that. So you'll hear us though over the next few days. We're chatting to the directors that are sitting in final control, deciding what we should do and where we should do it, what animals we should go and find, those types of things. It was quite nice. This is what we do. We just enjoy the fresh air for the first half an hour. Ah. And I know Herbert is out. He came to me just before we went and started getting ready for drive. He is going to try and help us look for leopards again, and hopefully we're going to find Tandy or Karula, one of the two that are just south of our traverse. So that'll be quite nice this afternoon, what I'm hoping. And I'm sure I'm going to bumble on and go back towards the Nkahumas, my favorite lions. But we'll get there at some point. Right, but it's time for me to say goodbye, but I'll say hello again in just a few. But I'll just let you enjoy the peace and quiet.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Just watching this elephant feeding quite close to us at the moment. And welcome. This is Safari Live.
By
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon again, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari. A beautiful, cool afternoon. We've got this elephant feeding all around us. Still a bit of cloud cover around, but welcome. Great to have you with us again. My name is Byron, and with me on camera this afternoon is David. Afternoon, David.
Hello.
And out on the other vehicle is Tayla and VM. We'll get a chance to say hi to them shortly. And the ladies in the FC, Kirsten. It's great to have you all with us. Welcome again on another and exciting Safari Live. We've got this herd of elephant around us. We've got another afternoon school drive with us, which is great. Children from Windsor Oaks Elementary, Mrs. Hubble's class. Lovely to have you all with us again. We hope you enjoy it with us just as much as yesterday. Just having a look around, there's some more elephant. As I said, the temperature is quite cool. It's about 29 degrees Celsius, so about what's that, about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So nice cool afternoon. See these elephants all around us at the moment just feeding. What a great way to start. Please don't forget that we are absolutely live. What we are seeing now is as we see it, which is fantastic. And please send us your questions through Twitter at #SafariLive, or otherwise email us questions@WildEarthTV. And the kids from Windsor Oaks Elementary, don't forget to ask your questions to Mrs. Hubble, and she'll send them to us and we'll answer them for you. There's another one. Let me just move forward a little bit here. There's a young elephant feeding off to the right. Here we go. Have a look there. Oh, wonderful. Look how it uses its trunk to try and pull leaves off of trees or break branches. They use their trunks for just about everything. And you can see those little tusks. This is still a young elephant, but they will use those tusks to also help break branches and feed on the trees or the grass. We had an exciting morning. I was out with Brian, and we got to see a lot of really interesting little birds and different birds, which was great. And Tayla managed to find the lions, the Nkuhuma Pride, which have been around for quite a while. And they managed to kill another buffalo last night. So they fed on a buffalo, or have been feeding on a buffalo. So they're probably very, very full at the moment. That all happened this morning. These elephants are just, you can see, feeding through these thickets. We call this a thicket, a dense vegetation. All these trees, the little trees and that they move through. And for them it's very easy, and they can feed on all this plant material, all of these trees. Alright, I think what we're going to do is we're going to carry on. Our plan this afternoon is we're going to head down towards Cheetah Plains and see what activity is going on around there. Maybe we're lucky. We looked for leopard this morning, no luck, or no sign of leopard just yet. So who knows, maybe this afternoon we get lucky. And while we do that, just move through this elephant herd. And while I move out of this area and towards Cheetah Plains, Tayla would love to say hi to you this afternoon.
Good afternoon again, and welcome to a fabulous afternoon sunset safari. My name is Tayla, and on camera with me we've got VM. There he is. Now, I know that there are some wonderful children from the Windsor Oaks Elementary School watching us this afternoon. Welcome to all of you. You must have enjoyed it yesterday then if you're back again, and I hope to hear lots of questions from all of you. So remember, you're welcome to ask as many questions as you can, and Byron and I will try and answer them to our best ability. Now, we are going to try and find some lions this afternoon, and hopefully later. Sorry. Apparently the children are not watching right at this second. Okay, that's alright though. We'll have to welcome them again though. But anyways, we are looking for lions, of course. Well, we're also looking for a leopard if there are any around. Herbert is out again this afternoon. We're searching the southern boundary to see if Karula has perhaps crossed midday, and we know she likes to do that. She seems to do that quite often. Instead of moving when it's nice and cool, she moves when most likely the other predators won't be so active during the middle of the day, which is quite a clever strategy that the mothers and their youngs often do. It's not just limited to leopards, of course. It's to a variety of animals. Now remember, we are currently live at the moment. I'm just looking up, saw some vultures sort of circling, but just catching the thermals. Oh, but we've got a piggy. Please don't scare my piggy away. There's the piggy. A lovely big warthog, who's most likely been in the mud. Yes, you can see fresh mud covering this lovely lady. And that's what I'd be doing today. It's very humid, which is unusual. Normally it's the dry heat up here, and perhaps it's the humidity building up now because we're going to get some big rains. Well, that's what I'm really hoping for. Oh, no. She didn't want to stick around though. That's okay. Perhaps she's not as sort of used to us as the other warthog. So we'll leave her be and we'll continue with our search. And we're taking the scenic way around to head back towards the Nkahumas. But like I said, as we're doing that, I'm also checking a couple of roads that run along the drainage lines. Always a good spot to check for leopards and anything else that will be around today, trying to escape the heat. It doesn't seem like there's too much happening around here, just for the moment. Now, something that I'm hoping that we're going to start seeing is the snakes and the lizards and all those wonderful creatures that come out when the sun comes out. And I know, Ben, you were hoping that we would spot a couple today. I hope so. I know that Byron's been having quite a bit of luck lately with the tortoises, and we saw a terrapin we saw a couple of terrapin heads this morning in the dam, one of the dams. But I think today might be a little bit on the cooler side. It's nice and hot, but there isn't very much sun around. Well, it's been quite overcast throughout the entire day. So perhaps on a really sunny day we're going to start to see those tree agamas coming out. And then of course, I think once we have the explosion of termites, we might start seeing a couple of the constrictors of the snakes. So things like the brown house snakes, the spotted bush snakes. Often when the alates are released from the termite mounds, they tend to come out and nibble on a few of them too, and the frogs. So I expect that we're going to start seeing them possibly in the next couple of days, and hopefully a chameleon or two. I know everyone's absolutely so excited to whoever's going to spot the first chameleon. Yeah, we've got some Impala, which are of course running away from me as usual. That's very typical. These two ladies. What are you two doing? Jumping around like buffoons. Don't waste your energy. What happens if there's a leopard behind the tree? Then you're going to wish you didn't jump around like that. And it's just the two of them. So I can't, oh no, there's a couple more running in the distance. You can see them now moving back towards the herd. The herd is probably a few more meters further into that thicket. But isn't the bush getting thick all of a sudden? The leaves have all started to develop now. And it's looking lovely and green even after the rain that we had just the other day. It's looking really good. I can hear all the cuckoos but I think it could just be a little bit too far away to hear the cry of the black cuckoo. Right, let's continue. So I know that Byron said he was wanting to go to Cheetah Plains today, and I was hoping to do that, but it's okay, we'll let Byron go. Maybe he finds those cheetah, maybe he brings us some luck this afternoon. Maybe tomorrow morning we can go to Cheetah Plains, but before we lose Byron to the gremlins, those little spots along the road towards Cheetah Plains, let's go and head across to him for a little update.
So we just had something interesting, very, very briefly. We had a slender mongoose. It's a species of mongoose that we get in this area. It just ran across in front of the vehicle, but it ran very quickly, so we couldn't show you, unfortunately. But a lot of the locals in this area, in this greater Kruger area, or this northeastern part of South Africa where we are, they have a belief about the slender mongoose. And it is said that if it runs in front of you or across the road in front of you with the tail down, it is said to be good luck. If it runs with the tail held up high, it's said to be bad luck. So this mongoose ran in front of us with the tail down. So maybe it's some good luck for us. You never know. We are heading towards Cheetah Plains. See something in the distance, I'm not sure. Let's just have a look if it was buffalo, perhaps. Unless I'm seeing things. No, there is a buffalo, thank goodness. Doubting myself for a second. We'll show you shortly. Hang on, let's just see. There we go. There's a nice view of it through there. Straight ahead. We'll be able to see it shortly. There we go. A lot of these little pans in the area. That looks like an old bull. A lot of these little pans in the area seem to have filled up quite nicely after all the rain that we had. You'll see it just in front of, there we go, there's one right there, just in front of that buffalo. A few days ago these were completely dry, and now they've filled up a little bit, so nice mud wallows and a lot of water around for the animals, which is great. This is an old buffalo bull, so that's probably why he is alone. Often these older males don't like to move around with the herd, because the herds, big herds of buffalo, all the females, the youngsters, and some dominant males, they'll cover huge distances. They'll constantly walk around looking for food. And these old males usually prefer an area where there's a mud wallow, some good food around, and they don't have to walk too far. And then if the herd does pass by again at a later stage, they may join them for a short period of time, but then usually split off and find a nice area. And occasionally you can get these males forming groups and small bachelor herds, so just the males, and they can range from 2 up to 10 or 15 sometimes, all depends. So that's really great. As I was saying earlier, it's a little bit overcast still. There's still some cloud cover around, but it is still fairly warm. And one of the important things, we actually were asked about it this morning, and one of the viewers asked us, you can see I'm used to guiding guests all the time, one of the viewers asked us, do we always wear sunscreen? And we do. So I thought it's probably important that I show you the correct way in putting sunscreen on. So I've got my sunscreen, and what you need to do is get a fair amount of sunscreen, not too much, you don't want to waste. So just about that, especially for your face. So you apply a little bit on your forehead, a little bit on your cheeks, just like that. And then what you need to do is just rub it in like this. So that's how you apply sunscreen in the bush. And hopefully you don't get burnt. And don't forget the ears, because the ears can often get burnt too. So I hope I've rubbed it all in. Thanks, Dave. Looking good. We're going to continue towards Cheetah Plains now and see what we can find down there. But who knows what we bump into along the way? There's always animals walking and wandering around these main roads. This is kind of a main access road between the different properties, different areas that we traverse. And there's some guinea fowl right next to the road. Oh, and they're fighting. Ah, beautiful birds, guinea fowl. They're busy chasing each other. Look at that, the helmeted guinea fowl. And look at that blue head with the reddish face or forehead, and that what looks like a helmet on top of the head. That's where they get the name, the helmeted guinea fowl. Look at those beautiful white spots on the feathers. And these birds can also often be a good indicator if there's a predator around. They make quite an interesting alarm call. So, and I've found leopards on a number of occasions, just by listening to guinea fowl. They'll fly up into the trees to get away from the predator, and then they alarm call, and that will, well, what they try and do is mob the predator or make enough noise to cause it to move away. We're going to continue to Cheetah Plains. While I do that, let's see what Tayla's up to.
We've managed to come across a couple of giraffe. There seems to be 3 of them in this area, but I do want to officially welcome the Windsor Oak Elementary School. Hello again. You probably remember me from yesterday, but just in case you've forgotten, my name is Tayla, and on camera with me, we've got VM. Different camera operator today. Now let's have a look at these beautiful giraffe. I think I actually even saw giraffe with you yesterday very briefly. Isn't that lucky? We seem to be seeing plenty of them at the moment. Now those are 2 young males that have decided that they don't like us very much and they ran away. But they seem to be settling down now. You can see that they're happy. They're starting to eat, which is lovely. Oh, look at that one. That one's going right down. What are you doing? I can't see any water there. There's a pool of water in front of me, which I was really hoping that this giraffe was going to go and drink from. But it seems as though this mature boy, so he's an older male, an older boy, he seems to be moving off now. But look at his reflection in the water. Isn't that amazing? It's like a mirror. There's not a breath of wind today. It is very, very quiet here. Why is everybody running away from us? But let's see if we can, here we go, maybe we can try and get a better view. I think we should reposition. Let's try and keep up with these giraffe. Now, remember, I'm hoping to hear some questions from you, so you're welcome to ask Mrs. Hubble, and I will answer all your questions you have about the giraffe. So let's see how many questions you can ask me in the next few minutes before the giraffe decide to disappear. We're going to park just over here. We get a nice view now of this beautiful big boy. Look at how tall he is, especially when he sticks his head up. I wish that you could all try and stand next to him, and I bet that you would probably fit right underneath his stomach. Let's see if he's going to use his long tongue. Maybe not. He seems to just be picking away at all the nice new green leaves that are coming through there. But the giraffe have a very long tongue. If you take your ruler and you add another 10 centimeters, if you add 1/3 of that. I just want to say hello. Okay, hang on. Byron is chatting away to Herbert for me. That's perfect. Sorry, so if you take your ruler and you divide your ruler by 3, so you make it into 3 sections, and you add another section of your ruler on top of it, and then that's how long a giraffe's tongue is. Can you believe it? And sometimes when the trees are too high and they can't reach the leaves, they will stick their long tongues out and grab some of the nice leaves. Isn't that amazing that they're able to do that? But today, there's no need to use his tongue as well as it normally will, because the leaves are right there. Now if you look very closely at this tree, it's actually got lots and lots of thorns on it, and it's quite amazing that the thorns of this knob thorn doesn't really bother the giraffe at all. Okay, having a look in the distance, I think he heard the other giraffe that are moving away from us. Now he's just looking over to say hello to them, just to see what they're doing. So giraffe don't really make any noises. We know that the lions like to roar. The impala, which is the antelope, they make a barking sound like a dog, as do most of the antelope. The zebra make a very strange noise, like bleating noise, and of course the birds sing beautiful songs for us. But the giraffe, unfortunately, can't make very many noises. Sometimes they can make a strange noise like that. Okay. So I'm making all these funny noises. It seems as though please excuse me everyone, it seems as though the school is having a couple of issues this afternoon, but hopefully they'll get back. So I do apologize for making those bizarre noises. I'm sure you probably would have enjoyed the laugh. Remember the class that we're dealing with today, they're quite young, they're only about 5 years old, so I have to sort of play it down a little bit more than what I would if I was talking to you. But I won't be making any strange noises for the next few minutes. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to move on from these giraffe now, because I want to try and get around towards the nkuhumas. Right, but let me head on over to the nkuhumas, who I don't think would have gone too far, and while we do that, let's go back across to Byron.
Look what we found wallowing in one of these little pools of water. A large hippo. Really interesting. It doesn't look deep enough for this hippo, but I think because it's been a bit cooler today, it's chosen this water hole, probably been moving around, feeding during the evening, which is what they do. They eat at night, usually, and then during the day they return back to the water and rest there and spend the day in the water, because their skin is very sensitive to the harsh sunlight out here. But I think this one has probably been rolling around in the mud a lot, and that will protect its skin. So even though this water isn't deep enough for it to submerge, it's still protected enough because it can roll around. It looks like it's got some mud on the back there. And as I said, today is a bit cooler. It is overcast, so the sun isn't as harsh as it usually is. And that's perhaps why this hippo is in a wallow like this. Often what happens too is with these hippo, they may get chased out of a pod by another dominant male. Perhaps males often have territorial disputes where a big dominant male will challenge another one and chase that male out, and that male then has to go and find another little dam or pan or mud wallow like this even, to get away from that big male. And he looks very relaxed. James has asked us a question. He would like to know, are the mosquitoes breeding in all these water holes? And James, I think at the moment with the rainfall that we had, yes, the chances of more mosquitoes being around, especially around these water holes, are very high. They do require a lot of moisture, and that's why they're mainly active in summer, not so much in winter. We see very few mosquitoes in winter, also because of the temperatures. But now these little mud wallows and pans provide a perfect breeding habitat for mosquitoes. So they will be breeding around here, and we will start seeing most likely a lot more mosquitoes. Although we've actually had a lot already around camp, there seem to be plenty at the moment. So we do all have to be very careful. We're going to leave this hippo in the puddle and carry on to Cheetah Plains. Tayla has got something else in a puddle she would like to show you.
Finally, look at this little terrapin who has poked its head up in this mud wallow, and now it is staring at us. And I love the way that it's moving slightly with the sort of gentle breeze that's blowing all of the debris that's on the surface on the water, and I think that's quite amazing. Oh no, not hanging around, because it almost makes it look like it's perhaps just a piece of wood, or like I said, some form of debris that is on the surface of the water, rather than indeed an animal. Now, as VM pointed out, it is edible size. It was quite a small one, probably only about that big or so I don't blame it for disappearing very quickly. And I must tell you, I heard the first class's cuckoo. Now, I'm just sitting listening, whistling the bird tunes that I was hearing, and then I stopped and went, hey, that's one I haven't seen just yet. And of course, the class's cuckoo, let me show you a photo very quickly. And the reason how I recognized its call is because it sounds like it's saying a word, Mikey, Mikey, which is quite a beautiful call. Let's see, C for cuckoo. So that was quite nice to hear. Now, hopefully we'll be able to see one. Let's find the actual name of it though. What did I say it was? The class's cuckoo, 238. Let's go there very quickly. Now, the reason why I want to show you the class's cuckoo, it's in this middle section here. You see that? Because it's very similar looking to the Diederik's cuckoo. So if you go up a little bit, VM, you should see that. There we go. Now, these are the two I want to show you. Class's cuckoo, and then, of course, the Diederik's cuckoo. If you see them very quickly, they can be quite confusing. But you can see that the Diederik's cuckoo has got a red eye. If you just go up, I just want to point that out. You see how it's got a very red sort of skin around the eye. Now, the class's cuckoo doesn't have that. And, of course, the Diederik's cuckoo seems to be a little bit more barred on the side of its body, where the class is almost pure white. And this will obviously be very difficult to tell the difference between the two juveniles as well. It's a hard one. So when we eventually do find either of the birds, it'll be quite nice if we're able to catch them on camera, to actually be able to sit and have a look and see if we're able to identify them. You see, I thought I saw a cuckoo, but it's not a cuckoo. And our terrapin has not popped its head up again. I think it's a little bit on the frightened side and possibly wondering why we are still sitting here watching it. I don't blame that little guy. I'd be a little bit worried if I had a big green thing sitting next to me too. Well, we've got hornbills up in the tree above us. Looks like some red-billed hornbills. Haven't been seeing too many yellow around. It's probably going to fly as its mate is also just taken off. Oh no, you're just hopping up higher, watching its partner in the distance. And we must go back and see if we can have a look at that hornbill nest again. I know it was quite difficult though to get a view because it was on the other side of the tree and from the road. Maybe I will tell Steph exactly where it is, and perhaps when he's doing a bushwalk in the near future, he'll be able to go and show you, and then maybe get around to the other side. Can you hear the cuckoo in the distance? I'm sure you can hear that. Now I have a question for you. Seeing as though we've been hearing all of the cuckoos and chatting a lot about them, I want to know if you could hear that call. Kirsty, could you hear that in final control? I just want to double check that you did. Fantastic. Kirsty's just confirmed it now. There's no excuses. I want to know which cuckoo was calling in the background there. Obviously, we've been chatting about the various types. Let's see who's first to figure that one out. So, you can send your answers through to questions@WildEarth.tv on an email, or, of course, you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And then I'd love to hear as to what your guesses are this afternoon. And that's also a tricky one, though, because there's two of them that look very similar and sound the same as well. But there's a clue that should help you a little bit, and let's see who gets the answer right first. But like I said, we're slowly making our way back around to where we saw the Nkahumas. Now James, speaking about feathery creatures, you want to know what bird has got the longest tail feathers in this area. Now I'm going to have to think a little bit, and we'll probably open this up to a discussion, of course, and we'll see what everybody else thinks as well. So what do you think, James? This is quite a nice question. I'm enjoying doing this with all of you back at home, is instead of just telling you things, it's quite nice to have discussions about it. And why do you think this is this? And this is what we normally would do on knowledge sharing. We go out as guides. So let's see who's got long tails here. We've obviously got the magpie shrikes who've got incredibly long tails. At my first guess, I'd probably go with magpie shrike, but then of course we've also got the grey go-away birds who have got long tails, and then the purple crested turacos, which we occasionally see. They indeed have got long feathers on their tails too. Now I'm not sure, I haven't seen any pin-tailed widers up here. I'm sure they must occur. We got them down in the south, so it wouldn't surprise me if there were a couple around here. Fantastic. Kirsty's just confirmed that you have indeed seen a couple of them. Now when the males get their breeding feathers, they also get very long tails, and I wonder if the breeding feathers, those tail feathers of the pin-tailed wider of the male, possibly isn't longer to that of the magpie shrike. So I think those are my top contenders. I'm going to go between the male pin-tailed wider with his breeding plumage, his long tail, or it's either the magpie shrike. And what does everybody else think? I'd love to hear what you would think and why you think it's that. So please let me know, and let's have a lovely discussion this afternoon. So we're discussing two things. We're trying to find out what bird was calling in the distance, and then we also want, what do you think your guesses are as to who's got the longest tail feathers? Now I'm hoping to catch a cuckoo on camera this afternoon. I've been dying to. I know Byron was lucky and got a couple, I think he got a few African cuckoos, which was really lucky. Every time I seem to see them, we sit patiently and wait, and they only hang around for a few seconds and then disappear. I'm going to try and find a black cuckoo this afternoon though. That'll be nice to see. I don't know if anybody this season has managed to get one on camera, well, since they've come back again. But we will try. Like I said, I am taking the scenic way around. I'm looping and going back and going forth, seeing if we can pick up on anything else as we drive along. I'm going in here. This will be a good area also to check for cuckoos. They seem to like to sit on the tops of the dead trees. Well, I'm going to be checking and scanning those, so if you see me gazing up into the sky, it's just because I'm looking for the birds that sit on top of the trees. Ooh, quickly try and get out of this little dip that we were in. Gremlins were trying to jump on, but I beat them off with my imaginary stick. It's a gremlin stick that only gremlins can see. Oh. Oh no, I think he's gone too far. There was a warthog. Let's see if we can get him again. Looked like a big ball, but he was quite scared, and when I put my foot to the brake, he didn't know what to do. Oh, you can see him. He's actually just VM. Can you see him running off to the... There he goes. He's going to come into frame, and there he disappears. Look how well camouflaged that is. Now that's not even a thick wall of trees. And that just shows you, I mean, even a buffalo could hide behind there. So as we start to walk around now, at this time of the year, we really, really have to be careful. In summer, you can obviously be a little bit more blasé, if you will, because everything is so open, you can see for kilometers ahead. But after this little bit of rain now, the bushes really become quite dense, and it makes it that much difficult for us. Now, getting a couple of answers coming through, or guesses, as we have these discussions about the different things I've been chatting about. And Robin says that ostrich feathers could possibly be the longest. Now, that's a good guess too. I'm trying to think of the ostrich feathers I've found. They're quite big, especially on the wings. Not that they can use them to fly, but they're quite long. Good guess, Robin. You see that? But it's an ostrich is not a common one that we see. But it would be nice to actually get the measurements of exactly of the wings. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any of those measurements in any of my bird books. I'd probably have to either do it myself or maybe ask the internet and see if by any chance there's some information on that. Unfortunately, it's quite limited as to what we have in the books. Ben, you've said a long-tailed widow bird. I haven't seen any long-tailed widow birds up here. Perhaps there are. I'm still also building my bird list for Djuma. Oh, hello. Now, there's a young Nyala. Oh no, it's not too young. He's going to come out now on the right. You see, I'm just going to stop. There he is. These guesses are really good. Now you're really twisting my brain. I thought that I was spot on with the birds, and I thought it would have been a shoo-in choosing the magpie shrike or the pin-tailed wider. But it seems as though you're all coming up with great answers, and I absolutely love that. And that's what nice, feeding each other these questions, having these discussions, and making your brain work really hard. So that's really nice. I'd love to hear from a few more of you. Has anybody had any idea as to which cuckoo was calling yet? I'm just going, let's actually have a look at this go-away bird that's up in the top of this tree, this jackalberry. Now, Robin, you've also made another comment saying, what about a secretary bird? Robin, there could definitely be a secretary bird. I have yet to see a secretary bird in the sands. Look at this go-away bird jumping around in the tree. Seems to be very excited. I'm not sure if it lost its footing, and that's why it sort of clambered around like that. Secretary birds have got very long feathers indeed. I've forgotten about all these ginormous birds that occur. I went and chose the smallest ones. They're very excited. Oh, there we go. You see how it's looking, trying to get that fruit of the jackalberry? Oh, doing a daring display of dangling from some very thin twigs. And obviously that fruit possibly wasn't too ripe. It went in and tried to have a little taste and decided to go somewhere else. But look how agile it is as it hops through this big tree. I didn't even get to taste a jackalberry this year. Oh, I haven't. Oh no. I tried and I looked along the ground and I didn't find any, and I suppose these are the main culprits as to why they are all gone. Thank you very much. Go away birds. There's another one. It doesn't look too ripe though. It looks very green still. And now when the fruit is ripe, it goes a lovely yellow color and it's nice and soft. But they typically fall off and will be on the ground. That's when you see lots of warthogs and things hanging around the bases of the trees, of the fig trees, of the jackalberries, and of course the marulas when they start to drop off. But you are a very busy go-away bird, determined. How on earth is this bird spotting all that fruit? Because I tried to have a look up in the tree and I couldn't see any. Just shows you how much we really do miss and how we don't pay attention to things. Now I think this poor go-away bird, as hard as it's trying, is not really being rewarded. Like I said, unfortunately those fruit are not very ripe. There we go, there's another one. No, still hard. You can see desperately trying to crack it. And like I said, when it's ripe you can squeeze it in your fingers. A little bit, struggling quite a bit there. Yeah, it got a little bit on its beak, but I don't think very much, and I'm sure it must taste quite bitter. But there's not even guarri fruits anymore, so this is sort of the last of the fruit until the marulas arrive. So I'm sure these birds will be quite desperate and sort of feed on anything. We've got a couple of questions, answers coming through. Sorry for the cuckoo quiz. Andy, you've said that, was it a Jacobin cuckoo? It could have been. I'll chat a little bit more about that. Actually, let me get my phone going and we'll try and find the calls. And then we will decide as to who it was. Let's go cuckoos again. This is quite interesting. This go-away bird now seems to be quite happy with feeding on this fruit. Perhaps it's not the tastiest, but it seems to be the only one that it's able to get its beak inside, but after much sort of pecking at it and I suppose loosening up the fruit, it'll provide a little bit of sustenance. Now, what I want to do is I want to play some calls for you, so we're going to listen to some calls. I have a bird app on my phone, so we're going to listen to the Jacobin cuckoo very quickly, and I'm going to play another call for you. Okay, that's the Jacobin. I'm going to play another one for you. I'm going to play you the Levalence cuckoo. Very similar, don't you think? Very, very similar. Now I'm going to get the book out because I want to show you the birds. These are another two species of cuckoo that are very similar, but I've already forgotten the page that they were on, so I have to go back and look it up again. Where are you, cuckoo? No, why am I doing that? I don't know why I'm doing that. Ask myself silly questions sometimes. Cuckoo, yes, you're on the other page. 236. Short-term memory loss over there. Just going a little bit too far. Almost here. And we've got them. Right. So, let's start with the Jacobin. The first call that we play. I apologize, my hands are a little bit dirty, but I was digging for things just before we started the show. Now, you see the Jacobin. Notice how there's no bars or stripes on the breast. Can you see that? It's sort of very white. Also got quite a long tail. I don't think as long though as the magpie shrikes. Now we're going to go to the top right and look at the Levalence. You see that? Very, very similar, except the barring, of course. Another difference is if you look at the tail, you can see it's almost got a 3-spot pattern on its tail, but that is a very difficult angle to see on a bird unless it's flying straight over the top of your head. And if we go down to the Jacobin cuckoo, you see how it's only sort of got 2 pairs of spots on its tail. Like I said, that is a really hard one to sort of use. So I always go for the stripes on the chest. Now they both occur in this area, and that sound was quite a tough one. I think it sounded a little bit deeper, a little bit more like the Levalence cuckoo, but I don't think we'll know for sure until we actually find one. So good guesses, and it's something just to keep in mind, to keep thinking about how there's so many birds that have similar calls that almost look very similar. But I believe that Byron has finally reached his destination. Let's go across to Cheetah Plains.
Yes, I'm back. Oh, I'm on Cheetah Plains at the moment, Tayla, that's right. And myself and Dave are scanning very, very carefully just to see what we can find. There's some Impala. We haven't got any updates of any predator activity yet. But what we have seen is big elephant tracks in the road. It looks like a massive, massive bull. And it seemed to have cut off in that direction. And we could see some of the devastation that he caused back there. He broke a massive branch. Almost, it looked like a huge tree stump which had broken down. And obviously fed on the leaves or the branches high up. Love to see this big male because judging by the size of his tracks, he is really, really big. So let's scan carefully around here. Maybe he's gone out into one of the clearings. That would be great. And we are moving towards the plains. You know, Tayla was here a few days ago and she was lucky she got to see some cheetah. So maybe, who knows? If we're lucky, we might see some cheetah. And if that mongoose story is correct, the slender mongoose that ran in front of us, the tail was down, and it's said to be good luck. Or some of the locals believe it to be good luck. We have some buffalo just off to the right. A small group of buffalo. And there's a red-billed oxpecker. Oh, that's just flown off. Are often see a lot of oxpeckers around these buffalo. They pick off the ticks and the fleas. I know Taylor's been chatting to you about a number of birds and the cuckoos. We've been lucky. I've seen 2 cuckoo in the last day, 2 different species of cuckoos. The African cuckoo and the red-chested cuckoo, which was really nice. There we go. There is an oxpecker on that buffalo. Red-billed oxpecker. So we've seen quite a few buffalo around. There's a lot of buffalo in the area at the moment, and I think that's why the lions have been so successful in hunting them. It's because there are so many around, and also they're not in great condition because of the drought that we've had. You can actually see this one that is feeding over there. If we look at the ribs, you'll notice, see the ribs are showing they're not really in good condition. But hopefully with the rain that we had the other night, more vegetation will start growing very quickly, more grass, which is what the buffalo need. We're going to move on. Let's carry on and get towards these plains. I want to have a look around those plains and look very carefully. The other day we were here, we were lucky. Also got to see side-striped jackal, which was a nice surprise. And they do tend to prefer nice open areas. So who knows? Now, I wonder where that big elephant is that we saw. Sometimes our signal out here, or our communications out here this far away from camp aren't that great, so we occasionally lose the ladies in the FC. But keep your questions coming through, they will get them to us either way. Let's try to scan this area off to the right. Just looking for that elephant. See if it's come through around here. There's nothing at this waterhole at the moment. If you look just off to our left, just there, nothing around here. Let's drive down this way a little bit. Just see, I'm scanning around. It's nice and open here, so you can see quite a way, or quite a distance. So big elephant bull will be easy to spot. Well, you'd think so. It's not always the case. Ah, there we go. There's something different. Just hiding through there. A zebra, everyone. Look, 2 of them. Just reverse a little bit more. How's that? There we go. There were a couple of them feeding through there. The Burchell's zebra, or the plains zebra. They're also trying to find any little bit of grass around there. And let's carry on. The zebra has moved off. or was just feeding through the thicket there. The other ones moved off a little bit further in. I think they probably came and drank at that water hole behind us. There's a lot more over here. See, they like these open areas. Hang on, let me just see. There we go. There's a nice one, some Impala in front of them. Nice zebra sighting. Lovely to see them. Often you find zebra and wildebeest together in the clearings. It's nice to see Impala with them too. Reason for that, these animals like feeding in open areas and they'll alert each other if there are any predators. So for safety, it makes sense for all these herbivores to be in the same area. And out in the clearings, they can then also see if there are any predators. Much easier than they would if they were in the thickets. And it's quite open, even though there are a few trees around here. It's very, very open at the moment, so it would be easy to spot any danger. Let's carry on towards the plains. Just going to see, I don't know if I can maybe signal to the ladies in the FC if we got communication, because I'm not getting anything from them. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. So I really don't know if they are getting questions. We've lost them, so we're probably still live. I don't know. Oh, we're live. Okay, cool. So we are live. Fantastic. So not sure how much of the last segment you got. I don't know if I'd lost you there or not. We do experience a little bit of technical issues at times. And I think while I scan these clearings around, why don't you head back to Tayla and see if she's got the lions yet.
We managed to find a Koki Franklin, as you can see. This is a male and is walking off into the distance. And unfortunately, he's not accompanied by a lady friend this afternoon, which is what we've been seeing quite a lot of, is the birds meeting up and getting together, strengthening the bonds between the two of them, building nests, and then, of course, laying eggs. So perhaps you'll have a little bit of luck a bit later. Maybe he's still quite a young male and hasn't quite established himself in this sort of breeding season. But they're beautiful birds, and it's a Franklin that we don't always get to see. And I think it's probably one of the prettiest Franklins with that sort of bright orange head and the beautiful barred feathers. Oh no, there is the lady friend. Well spotted, VM. Well, there we go. You can see that the camouflage is working very well. I take back everything that I said. Madam, you were hiding away from me very, very well. Maybe I only saw him cross the road, so she could have still been on the other side. And, well, let's admit, she's a lot more camouflaged than what he is. She sort of disappears into the back of those trees, where he, with that bright orange head, stands out a little bit more. Okay, never mind. He's obviously established himself in the breeding world. But they are lovely birds. They seem to be having lots of luck with the birds, of course, over the last couple of mornings and the last couple of afternoons. And someone who would like to check on a little bit later is perhaps Mr. and Mrs. Magpie Shark and see how their beautiful chicks are doing. But I've been promising you in Kahumas, I'm going to try and show you in Kahumas, but we're still going to head on over to where they last were seen, and hopefully they'll still be around there. We're not far now, we're now on Central on Hyena Road, so we've just got to go through a dip past Gowrie Cutline, well, and then we would almost have arrived at our destination. But let's carry on. Go through here. Now, also, a moment ago I heard a kudu alarm calling, but it was bizarre. It was just 2 barks and then that was it. There was nothing further. That's why I didn't really race on over to go and investigate, because normally if it is a potential threat like a leopard or a lion, they'll often alarm call for a lot longer than just sort of 2 barks. Oh, we had a little buffalo crossing. Yes, buffalo, you all need to go a little bit further west. Can you go west for us and not go south? And of course you all know why, after that squeak, you all know why I of course want the buffalo to go towards the Nkahumas. Look at this cow, she's giving us a serious death stare, head raised. Now this is a warning sign typically. Now she's smelling us now. It's not that she's going to charge or anything. Of course she's got the ox peck on her back, but with buffalo they don't give very many warning signs. They sort of do this raised head, the odd snort, and maybe they stamp their front feet, but that's really about it. So you don't really have too much time to prepare if you are on foot with them. It's okay, girl, but maybe they've been smelling the lions. Maybe they were part of the herd that the Nkahumas hunted off of last night. But of course the oxpecker doesn't seem too worried about what's going on, because when you've got wings you can just fly away. Yeah, oxpecker getting through those hard bristles, got a little tasty snack. Now, Melinda, you were wondering, how does it occur that a buffalo can break its horn? Now that happens when the buffaloes will actually fight. So when they clash horns together, it's almost like 2 cars going at about 40 kilometers an hour and then driving sort of straight into each other. You can imagine the kind of damage that could cause, and that's where a broken horn can often come into play. Normally we see it with bulls, but occasionally we can see it with the cows as well. Perhaps they just get into sort of a domestic with one of the other males. Yeah, oxpeckers, they're not enjoying the little ones. It just flew back over to the cow that was giving us the death stare. Now, I don't blame them for being a little bit on the nervous side. There doesn't seem to be too many of them here. I'm just going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe a 10 here, maybe 11. So it's a small group of buffalo, and of course that makes it easier for the Nkahumas to sort of fend off. If they do grab one buffalo, well, then it's not going to be too difficult to try and chase the rest of the herd away. If it was a herd of 100 buffalo or even 50 buffalo, that would of course be a little bit different. But let's carry on. Maybe we see these buffalo again a little bit later, you never know. I would like to see the lions and the buffalo together. And quite a few youngsters. I didn't see any big bulls in this herd either. It was that cow who seemed to have been the oldest, and there were a couple of juvenile bulls, youngsters, possibly only about 2 or 3 years old, so nowhere near their sort of maximum body weight and just their size in general. So perhaps that's why she was taking a little bit more of a nervous stance towards us, as maybe she's the oldest and the most experienced, and everyone else is relying on her expertise in order to keep them nice and safe, which is quite a lot of pressure, I think, to put on one animal. Right, we're going through the little dip now. Just double check both sides for any footprints and of course any leopards. Right, up we go, this little bumpy section. The roads unfortunately have taken a real knock after the rains, and it is so typical that we get rain after they have graded the roads. I felt so sorry for the maintenance team because now they have to go and do it all over again. But it'd actually be good to grade the roads now and resurface them after a bit of rain, with the soil being a little bit on the softer side. And we're almost there, we're not far now, we've passed Gari Cut Line. Just got to head on past the dam. We'll have a little scan across from the northern side, have a look, and then, well, we're probably about 4 or so minutes away from seeing the Nkuhumas. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that they're still there. We know that they don't seem to enjoy finishing the carcasses. They just sort of move on when they're half done and then go and catch themselves a fresh one. We'll have a little scan over here. Have a little look. So you can see it doesn't look like there's too much happening. It looks very quiet. We're just realigning. So I parked on a little bit of a bump. Oh, but you know what I am going to show you is I've just seen one of the crested barbets land on this marula. Can you see it up on top there in between that fork at the back? Here we go. Now we know that there's a nest here. Let me roll back a little bit. I'm going to have to drive. Okay, we're going to very quickly reposition because we know that there's a barbet nest in here. I know I think we tried yesterday and unfortunately they weren't around, but let's just poke our nose through here. Can you see that little hole up top in the tree? Well, I told you, we always get distracted. Well, I always get distracted. It's impossible for me to focus on one thing. So there's the crested barbet's hole in the trunk of this marula tree. Now it's definitely gone inside. Now we have to play the patience game, but I'm sure that that adult will come out. It's been quite active for almost well more than a week now. And we've been seeing them going in and out with food. So I presume that they are chicks. They can have anywhere sort of between 2 and 5 chicks. Normally quite common to have about 3 chicks. Now, we're chatting quite a bit about birds and how to identify them and certain features. Now, type RSA, you're asking this afternoon, what is the best way to try and identify a bird if you have no idea what sort of family they're in without having to page through the book? Now, you know what? It just takes lots and lots of practice. Some of these books, and maybe I'll quickly show you because it doesn't seem like the barbets are coming out. So normally when you buy a bird book, there's obviously a front cover, but I've had this book for many, many years now and it's been on all sorts of adventures with me. Now you'll have the front cover and often you open it and you have these sort of keys. Can you see that? Of these different types of birds. And this is what I found helped me quite a bit when I was first starting guiding and I hadn't learnt the various families. But let's keep an eye out on this barbet nest. Let's see if it's coming out and I can carry on talking. Now, I found that helped quite a bit. Oh, we've got a head sticking out. Yes, there's an adult with its head poking out of the hole. So type RSA, my recommendation to you is just to go through the different families. Not that you have to learn every single bird, but it does help when you're trying to identify a bird quickly. It does come with time and experience. It's not something that you can do overnight. And like I said, you just have to keep practicing. It's like the art of tracking, you know, being able to identify certain footprints very quickly without, once again, paging through until you find whatever animal may have left it. But that key in the front of your book is probably the easiest because then you start to get an idea. Oh, okay, this bird looked a little bit like that, and you go and you have a look and you have a look in all the different ones. Okay, no, it wasn't that. But the next page has got, you know, the cousin of that particular bird, and then that's an easier way to find it. But don't worry, I still sometimes page through books looking for whatever bird I may have been looking for. Sometimes it's even hard for me. And then once you get a little bit more experience, you'll start to be able to see their sort of flight pattern. This is another sort of a useful way to try and identify birds, is to learn the different motions that birds will fly, from sailing to sort of the jagged movements that the drongos sometimes do. They're very acrobatic in the sky. And you start learning these different things, and then eventually that will also help you. And you'll go, okay, doves and like to sail. Hornbills sometimes sort of sail too, and they do all these different types of things, or which birds fly with their legs sticking out that you can see. So for instance, like the storks, that helps quite a bit when it comes to identifying birds. But I don't think we're going to have too much luck now with these crested barbets, but at least we got to have a little glimpse of one poking its head out. So maybe that was the female who's now doing a little bit of incubation, just trying to keep those little chicks nice and warm. But I'm really enjoying finding all these nests, and of course with everyone's help, it's really, really fun. And I think the ones that we're going to enjoy the most is the story of the magpie shrikes, and hopefully we'll get those little chicks leaving the nest as well and watching them stumble along. And I don't think they will go too far once they fledge either, just because they're quite territorial, so they have areas that they mark and defend. But let's go around the corner. Like I said, just bear with me for a couple of minutes. Should be at the sighting where the Nkuhumas were in a moment. Also just want to double check that they haven't walked around during the day. Don't see any footprints just yet. But we know that over the past few days they haven't been enjoying walking on the road. They walk everywhere else except the road. I'm going to turn my radio on. I know Herbert was trying to get hold of me. Let me quickly just chat to him. Herbert for Tayla. I'm just on Mvubu Road, approaching the last lock of the Nyala. Just chatting to Herbie. Okay, copy that. I'll have a quick look around here. Thanks, Herbie. I'm going to go radio down again. Oh, okay. So this is where the lions were. But it seems as though they're no longer here. They were playing in this tree. Well, let's go up a little bit further. And there's the carcass. Oh, these Nkuhumas. I knew they were going to do this. Pesky cats. Okay, let's have a look at the carcass. Now I wonder where they've gone. So they obviously left, and I haven't seen any tracks, and I know Herbert said he's trying to have a look for them as well, try and give us a helping hand. So I can't believe that they've moved off. They are so sneaky. Now the problem comes in now is that we're unsure of where they're going to be drinking water, because there's so many pools of water, and I want to show you exactly that. Just up ahead there is a mud wallow where I suspect that they probably would have gone to drink and not headed back towards the dam. That carcass is smelling delicious. Okay, I'm just going to take you around the corner. Here we are. We're getting to the little wallow that I want to show you. Let's see if we can get you a lion footprint. I'm sure that they would have drank from in here. Looks like something's been in here though. Sorry, I'm very close. It's very difficult. There's not much sort of width on the road. But you can see that the water is all churned up, and there's quite a bit of water that's been sprayed on the outside. So perhaps earlier today some elephants were here, or even a buffalo or something along those lines. Sorry, I'm just double checking. I'm seeing lions everywhere, but they're not actually lions. And now I think if I remember driving past here this morning, I did see lion footprints in there. But with the water being all churned up now by whoever was splashing around in this wallow, they've covered the footprints. But this is where they were indeed drinking. Now we need to figure out where they've gone. Now, they could have just gone straight back into this big block. It's quite a large block between Gowrie Cutline and Mvubu Road. But maybe what we'll do is we'll head along and then we'll jump into the fire break that's just north of here. And then we'll sort of drive from east to west along there and see if we can't catch them that way. And also just double check here. for footprints. And the sand is nice and soft here. Now, if you joined in this morning, I mentioned that last night we were hearing the lions calling, and it sounded almost like they were right next to us. And Leroy, you were wondering exactly that. How close are we to camp? We're not far at all. A couple of 100 meters, maybe about 300 or 400 meters as the crow flies. Not even actually that much, maybe 300 meters as the crow flies. We're very, very close. We're just on the northern side of where the camp is, opposite that big drainage that runs sort of east to west. Now, Herbert says he hasn't picked up on any tracks yet, and obviously Herbert is very good at what he does, and he spots all sorts of things that none of us see, which is incredible. Now, I also can't see any lion tracks coming out here, and I don't think there's been particularly too many people, so it means that they've been walking in between the block. But let's go back across while I look for the Nkuhumas and see how Cheetah Plains is treating Byron.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry, we seem to have lost communication there for a little bit. It's a bit tricky when we do head off quite far from the lodge. We're still on Cheetah Plains, but we're slowly making our way back towards Djuma. Myself and David got out to the clearings and we had a good scan around, but didn't see anything. There were a few Impala, and that was it in that area. So not too productive this afternoon in that area. But you never know what else we might bump into on the way back. And then we'll go and drive around Djuma a little bit and just see what we can find. Just having a good look around here again. Make sure that we have checked very carefully. Even the birds seem to be a lot quieter this afternoon for us. There we go. Hang on a second, let me jump out and show you this beautiful leopard tortoise. Is it gonna look how quickly it moves? I'm gonna stay. I'm not gonna disturb him. But look how quickly they can move. But beautiful carapace, or the shell. It's known as the carapace. A leopard tortoise. Those beautiful markings. Oh, wow, this one's feeling adventurous. Mountain climbing, log climbing, oh, no shame. Look at that, incredible. That's great. Just shows you they can move very quickly when they want to. We move forward a little bit. Might get a better view of it. Still walking through there. There it is. Try that, yeah. And this looks like it is a male, and is the back of the carapace right at the bottom. That little section of shell that comes all the way down around the back is usually the males. The females, and this is for mating purposes, the female's shell doesn't go right away around the back. There is a bit of an opening. So this looks like a male. Other way you can tell is if you actually pick the tortoise up, and underneath the shell, the males have a little concave section. It's slightly, basically just concave, and the females are completely flat. And that's again because of the mating. When the male mounts the female, then it's so he doesn't slip off, which is quite important, I suppose. James has asked, can we see the tracks of the tortoise? We can, James. What I'm going to try and see if I can show you. Let's see how close I can get it. It's a little tricky with the camera, but hang on, we might get it from here. Alright, let me jump off. Yeah, I think we can see it from here. Hang on a second, James. Alright, so here are the tracks over here, and this is, it's really great. I'm sure you can probably see it, I think, from the angle that I parked at. It was alright, and if I can show you, let me use a stick. So with the tortoise track, there are always two parts to the track: the feet on the right hand side and the feet on the left. So you've got this track of 2 or 4 feet that move along, and what happens is, as the tortoises walk, they actually kick their legs out a little bit like this. So you get these, and you can see these little lines kicking out, and that's from the feet. So as they walk like this. You see that? And they kick their feet out. So it's quite easy to identify tortoise tracks. And then it also gives you a good idea of the size of the tortoise. So you can see, judging by that width of the track, the tortoise is about that big, and you can see that tortoise that's in there now.
Just point them out again. I can get an
Okay, sure. Let me just see if can you see where the stick is? That line over there, and that line over there. It's a bit tricky, but like I said, James, who asked to see the tortoise track in harder sand like this, or soil, it's a bit difficult, but I can just see the track crossing the road over here. In soft sand, it's obviously a bit easier to see the tortoise track. I hope you got to see that a little bit. That's a nice surprise. Leopard tortoise, they've become a lot more active now because of all the rain that we've had. So I think yesterday we saw two. We saw a leopard tortoise and we saw a Speaks hingeback tortoise. Ron has asked. No, Ron, they don't. No, Ron, so we lost picture there for a second. Ron, they definitely don't hoist their prey. Leopard tortoises feed on plant vegetation, not like the other leopards we know, which put their kills into a tree. Usually, they hoist their kills. Okay, we're going to head back towards Djuma. While I do that, I think Tayla is with the lions.
We managed to relocate on the lions thanks to Herbie. They weren't too far away from the kill. They probably about 80 or so meters east from where they were, but they're in the middle of this block. They're sitting right on the drainage line, and it is very thick. I unfortunately cannot get in there. The lions are all spread out. Let's see, Herbie's trying to go through. Let's see if he gets a better gap. Okay, fantastic. Herbie's given me the signal. You can see where he is over there. He said he's found another little gap for us, which is fantastic. Sorry, I'm trying to pick up a little present that I've got for you, but I'm not going to show you just yet, so I have to hide it away from you. There's one of the males. I can't tell you which male it is just yet, but it's either Tinyo or Mfumo. And what we'll do is, it's going to take some serious off-roading to get to the other side. So we will go across to that side in a moment. But it's very, 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 very tight over here. And the reason why they did move across right to this drainage is because where they were this morning, there was very little shade. Yeah, it's just double checking. I thought I heard something, but it's nothing. I think it's just the branches cracking around as Herbie moves. So this was a very good spot. You can see there's lots of big trees covering around here and providing a little bit of shade. And of course, the closer you go to the drainage lines, the cooler it gets. So it's a very clever strategy that the lions have taken. But the only thing is that it means that we can't see them that well for now. But we'll go around and try and have another look. You can see some of the cubs waking up, but the rest of the pride seem to be sleeping hard. Is that thunder? I thought I heard a rumble of thunder in the very far distance. I wonder if it could have been. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? But it's stopped now, but I'll keep listening out for it. It's starting to get, the clouds are sort of coming in again. You can see it's a little bit hazy. I'm really, really hoping that we do get some more rain this evening. Right, I think let's try and go around. Herbie's now come back across and he found the spot. I think let's take his cue and let's try going across there. There's lots of sickle bush around, I'm afraid, which is not the greatest of my friends. And the reason being is because they've got massive thorns on them and they puncture tires. I'm going to have to do a 67-point turn over here though. So I do apologize if I go a little bit quiet. It's going to take some skill to get around here. Perhaps it's actually not that bad. Right, let's go in. Let's see, it seems like Herbie has found a little spot to cross. Okay, I took a wrong turn. We're going to have to go through here and then around. And we found a gap. Just unfortunately, there's no gap for me right now. Just be careful of this nasty plant. We've got ourselves a buffalo thorn that we're going to try and not get VM attached to. Waving bye to Herbie. He's such a good man. Always helping us out and always finding us so many different animals. He really is such a great help. Okay, well, we can go down here. Across this section. Right, now we're going to have to do a little bit of ducking. VM, are you alright here? We just have to go slowly so we can lift the tree over the top of the big aerial that pokes out at the back. You good there? Sorry, it's a heavy one. Still good? There we go. That wasn't too bad. Now we've just got to find a spot where we can look across. Ah, this seems to be much better. We go forward. Very slowly. Hi, Kahumas. How's that for you, VM? Good? There we go. Now you can actually see them all scattered around and about, and it wasn't too bad with the off-roading we had to do. Just a few little shrubs in the way. Well, this is much better. I mean, you could barely see them from the side that we were on. And thankfully, the drainage wasn't too steep and we were able to cross. That's normally the problem, is that on the other side of the drainage line there'll be a perfect view, but it will take you about 16 hours to get around and to get back into that sighting again. So luckily it was just a couple of minutes. Hello, little ones. They're all starting to get very restless now, sitting up, grooming themselves, biting each other. This one's coming down to investigate, go for a little walkabout. I'm going to bite you on your rump. Those two having a bit of a quarrel. They're getting rougher and rougher now. Look at that one scratching its nails on the tree. And I shall pass the lovely comments you're all saying, sort of saying well done to Herbert. I'll make sure that he hears from all of you. I'm sure he appreciates that. He really is, he's great. He helps us out so much. He is incredible to go on walks with. You see that little one though, of course, scratching its nails, copying what the adults do, and we know how important it is to strengthen the tendons in the claws as well as to get rid of all the old nail sheath And remember, as these cubs are growing, they're growing very quickly, and so will all the body parts and the nails and things like that. So it's important that they do that to get rid of the old sheath and let the new nail sheath come through. But having a very relaxed Wednesday. That one's trapped. Oh, you got out, well done. Now, I suspect that payback is going to happen. Oh, one of the lionesses is up and giving a little bit of a cough. Hello, girl. Now using the luxury facilities as always. No one else seems to be waking up with the adults. It's just the one lioness and then of course all the little cubs. They don't seem to be able to lie still for very long anyway. They're a bit like me. We can be quiet. Like I always say, let's be quiet for a little bit, and then I try my absolute best. But after about a few seconds I already need to talk again. So you can imagine my poor mother growing up and my dad. The lioness, oh, no, just getting a better spot. And back to sleep. Now this looks like the mother of the oldest cubs. Remember we were chatting about how to identify the different lionesses, and Jamie gave me the tip that the adult of the mother, of the two oldest cubs seems to have a very hairy chin. And you saw when we were zoomed in there, very, very fluffy chin indeed compared to the other lions. Here, one of the oldest cubs are going over to say hello, so there we go. I think that confirms that that's Mum. Now, Alex, you're wondering who is the oldest lion in this pride. I'm not actually 100% sure of the ages of the lionesses. I reckon the mother of the oldest cubs is probably the oldest one, just by looking at her. She's quite large and she looks well mature, but she doesn't look particularly old. I haven't seen on any of their canines that they are sort of worn down quite heavily. So I reckon that the lionesses, besides sort of the youngest in Kahuma is only about 3 or so. I reckon the others are anywhere between about 6 and 8 years old, somewhere around there. But perhaps you know, I think a lot of you watching the show know the Kahuma story a lot better than I do. So maybe you could help me out here. And does anybody know when each of the lionesses were born, so we can try and get an idea of how old they are, so I can add it to my ever-growing information on the Nkuhumas, like you've seen my page of lions. And it's nice to add those ages in there so I never forget them. Look at these ones playing around now on this termite mound. You have gone the difficult route around. Let's see if you can climb up. Oh, it's slippery. Remember when you watched me yesterday afternoon climb to the top of the termite mound? Like I said, with all the rain, the soil is a lot softer than what it normally is. You can see it there, making it quite difficult for these youngsters to climb up. But good job, well done. That could have ended worse. You could have rolled all the way down, which would have been entertaining to watch. These two are going to have a little play now. Now those buffalo aren't too far away from these lions, but they're going in the opposite direction. But we know that the Nkuhumas are good at playing catch-up. And along this drainage line, we often see the Duggar boys, the lone buffalo bulls, roaming around here. And now, especially that there's no more grass in the open areas, we're going to start to see all the animals coming back into the thicker parts of the vegetation to try and look for grass that hasn't been eaten, and then, of course, to look for all these new leaves which are coming through. That's nice. Instead of biting each other, you're showing some affection for a change. And that little cub looks like it's enjoying that. Look at them. There we go, going to annoy the adults. Now we know what this means, but hopefully they will get up and start to do something in a little bit. It's cooling down. But let's go back across to Byron, who has got the favourite food of the Nkuhumas.
Yeah, that's right, Tayla. I think the last few days especially, the lions have been loving the buffalo. A nice little herd, a small group, but they've been quite widely spread, these buffalo. So possibly one big herd that is spread out over this area, and they're maybe just looking for food. Nice to see them, some males and a lot of females in this herd. Look at them looking at us. You can see some of the younger buffalo seem to be almost reddish in color. Have a look at that. That's a young one there too. Slightly reddish brown, and the adults are much darker black coloration. And that's just with age. The older they get, they do tend to turn a bit darker. And a big welcome to Windsor Oaks Elementary School, Mrs. Hubble's class. I know we tried to say hello to you earlier and you were having a bit of problems. It's lovely to have you little kids with us. Please ask Mrs. Hubble to send us your questions, and myself and Tayla will happily answer them for you. So we've got some buffalo here, everyone. I know that you've just joined us. And Tayla said earlier that these are the favorite food for the lions, and they have been for the last few days. They've been hunting and a lot of buffalo and feeding on quite a few buffalo, so they're very full and happy at the moment. The lions, the buffalo aren't as happy. We might be able to hear some birds flying over us. They've just stopped. They are called hardy-daws. Very funny name, the hardy-daw. And they've got a very loud call. They've just stopped now, but you could hear them. And they've flown past us.